This is the video of the Excel loan portfolio tool. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to consolidate anything from 1 to 1,000 loans in a single schedule, the easy and effective way, complete with multiple automated amortization tables and this live dashboard, which updates instantly. No more endless formula fixing and formula amending with multiple loans. This is a solution with a single formula with one table input and a very clear self-adjusting output. So let's dive right in. So in this sheet, I've moved over to a list here where I've 30 loans that with different time periods that we're going to make. Now, normally, every single time there's a new tranche of loans, as you know, you need to rebuild or build a new amortization schedule. And then you need to link all the schedules to combine them into your model to have a look. And this can become quite a hassle. And then, heaven forbid, is an interest rate change. Then you have to update each and every table's installments and interest in the calculations. We're now going to manage this centrally with a single solution. So I've just unhid here briefly a list of interest rates and banks, and that's going to be part of our solution. So over here to the left is the solution. So you'll see that this is a single formula called loan combine, which takes two input ranges, the list of interest rates and the list of the 30 loans, and then a true or false argument right at the end. Click enter, there you go. It combines all of these 30 loans into a single schedule. So as I've mentioned in here, the last argument is true or false. And if you enter false, the argument's name is summary or not. If you enter false, it will show you, as I prefer to see often, each individual loan schedule. So I'll go to that briefly and illustrate that. So if I click false in here, exactly the same inputs, it's going to show me every single loan. So the first loan, it'll take, I think the first loan's got 84 periods. If I go to period 84, you'll see this loan amortize to zero. The next loan, I think, has 60 or so. There's its whole schedule listed all the way down to the end till zero amortized. Right to the end to the very last loan's amortization and projection. So that's possibly, if you want to look at the details, it'll display all of that for you in a self-adjusting range, like the other one for that matter. You'll see right in the end, it's a self-adjusting range which ends at the cell, I think it's 2 AC 2173, 2174, there's no more result. So a single cell with one formula, you don't need to be that much of a formula genius. But I'll go over the details with you now, exactly how this works. We'll go over step by step how to set it up. Of course, there's only the table, and then there's an interest table input. So the basic info you'll need for every loan, its start date, the amount, the period of the loan, 84 for the first loan, and then the interest rate information. So interest information is it's got a special format, these cells. So you can see 2%, 2.5%. That's the relationship the interest rate bears to prime. And to the right, this is the schedule of the prime interest rates. So this is a dynamic interest rate solution. So interest rates are very seldom fixed at a given rate over 5, 10, or 15 years, or even 20 years if you have longer bonds and things like that. Interest rates change over time. And as I said at the beginning, heaven forbid you have that change, then you have to update every single schedule. With this solution, you update all your schedules based on this input table of interest rates. So currently, from 27 January 2023, we've got 10.75, and that'll continue to 31 March 23, at which point 11.25% begins, carries on until May of 23, and so on. Right till the very last rate, November 2030, thereafter it's 9.75%. And if there's another interest rate change, all you need to do is come put that in to the table. If that drops to say 9.5 in June of 2031, for example, it's time sensitive and you input that and all your schedules update automatically accordingly. So that's convenient. You don't need to be a genius with the formulas again. All you need to do is understand to input these two ranges and true or false summary or detailed schedules. And there's your solution, a robust one. There are some optional input fields to further customize each loan. So if I push this optional section, you'll see that I have an input for the loan classification, the type based on the type of loan. Over here, I have a few examples where I've put them as finance leases. You may have installment sales. You may have just a bond for a property. However you want to classify them, this field enables that. Remaining two fields are to do with installments, and the first one if it's non-monthly. So, for example, every 6 months or 3 months, like these two examples over here. And the final one is, which is a initial contribution holiday, which you can negotiate with the bank. That'd be awesome for startup businesses where you want to get your machinery or your offices up and running. You can negotiate with banks to have a contribution holiday for a year or so, or however long they'll permit you. And that's an additional setting which will help you. So if we look, for example, at the second loan, we'll move across to the second loan. See, I've had a contribution holiday for a year there. For 12 months, there's none. And thereafter, every 6 months, installment happens. And we go right to the end, you'll see the loan concludes over its period with every 6 month an installment happening. So that illustrates those custom inputs, and that further enables you to add that extra bit of specialization to your schedules. For added convenience, I've added on the right hand of side of the input sheets a drill down if you just want to view individual loans. Currently, it's the loan called 101. You can toggle that around to the next one and see each individual amortization schedule. Of course, you'll see this is also a self-adjusting range, and that amortizes, of course, to zero the whole history of the loan or the whole projection of the loan over its duration to zero. So this for added convenience if you want to navigate through individual loan schedules. That functionality allows you to see. Again, also a self-adjusting range, one single formula. The advantage to all of these single formulas, you don't need 10, 20, or even 100 formulas like you do with most schedules. This is a simple, single, one cell input with two tables, and that's the solution. So that is our solution to combining multiple loans. So as you can see, it's laid out in a input schedule called Setup Loans. And just to briefly navigate through it for you, as you can see, I click these buttons, these what I call toggle buttons, and then areas unhide and hide. So what we've done is we've grouped key inputs and views of the sheet with these plus and minus buttons, grouping buttons. If you press them, you can hide and unhide them. Or you could press these toggle buttons, which hide or unhide a select group of things. So this toggle button would be the key inputs, the green one, the key inputs for the loan. Over here, of course, you have the list of banks which you can input from, which will be used in your dashboard, and it's a dynamically updating list of banks. So if I add a new bank here, ABC, my list will update, and I will have an ABC at the bottom. Because if I delete, by contrast as well, I'll also have that gone. Um, so I'll hide that again. And as you saw earlier, you can toggle the view of the detailed loan schedules with this button. And you can also toggle the view of the individual loans if you want to drill down the individual amortization schedules. And that makes navigating the sheet easy. And in the next section, we're going to go over now the follow on to the loan dashboard and how to use it. So let's dive right into that. So you will see that there is an analysis here at the top left. And as one changes this field, you get it's somewhat of a focus here, which brings certain information to highlight. So you can see these three charts over here has this highlighted area or circled area that shifts based on the year you select. And you'll see that these numbers also shift based on this selection or analysis here. In fact, all the charts over here change with this analysis here, either by being highlighted as they are here or being highlighted there, or the numbers themselves change. So at the top, what we have is you first see a split right in the middle, a percentage owed between owed, closed, and repaid. So owed is exactly as the term notates. That's the amount you still owe. Repaid and closed is everything that we've paid off distinguishing between closed when the whole loan's been settled and you can't redraw potentially, and repaid if you have an access bond you can still access. So the relevance of this split is very clear in the sense that if you've closed, you've got a successful credit history with those institutions, go back and negotiate with them again, perhaps. And the repaid, of course, you can negotiate if you don't have an access bond already, if you want to re-access, as opposed to going and getting new borrowings. So you'll see this theme. There's a chart here, owed, repaid, closed over here. To the left-hand side here, where in any given year, 2034, for example, you can see the split between these three balances. And of course, the dash on top adapts. You'll see the red dot being the year under focus, and you'll see the whole extrapolated history of the 30 loans that we have in our combined schedules, as well as the repayment and closure history that's going to happen. So you'll see over here to the right, you will have the borrowing by bank, and that, of course, at the analysis here. And that will split, of course, between the owed, the repaid, and closed balances. And you'll see the N outstanding, or the period remaining on the loan, together with the interest rate. So you can have all the information represented in the right over here. And by year, as your years progress, you can see how the balances shift and change. Obviously, a lot more repaid, less owed, a lot more closed, and so forth. And the periods are getting less and less as you progress down to 2035. This chart, of course, adapted as well. And this is by individual loan, by name. You can see quite a few of these loan schedules by 2035 have been paid off already. And to the bottom right, you'll see, of course, a schedule of the interest split, who's being paid what. You can see the 663,000 interest in the year 2035, and that's split by the respective banks. And there's the detailed amounts to the right over here, the analysis here, interest by bank. So to the far left, of course, you'll see the interest extrapolation over all the periods of the loans from the start year right up to the very last year, where there's still a balance in any loan that's left. And you can see which will be good and bad years. Of course, the highlighted year, of course, is in dark blue, as one can view that. So the last little refinement or input, or the next input, I should rather say. The first input was your analysis year. The other one is your year-end year. If you have a financial year-end other than December or a calendar year, all you need to do is put the year-ending month. If you wanted to change that split to year-ends of June, you'll see all the figures adapt, and that's a different split that happens there. Currently, it's set for a calendar year 12. So this setting enables you to work with any organization's financial period, and the dashboard will be relevant for those purposes. Remaining sections of this dashboard, you'll see there's a few buttons where if you hover over them, they have links to. So, for example, over here, the loan schedules, detailed loan schedules by loan. If I click on that, it will take me to exactly the detailed loan schedules that are on that setup sheet, which we demonstrated earlier. And you can, of course, toggle those. And if I want to go back to the dashboard, you'll see in each of the sheets there's this navigation bar, and there's a convenient link to the dashboard over here. And of course, that's how the dashboard opens. If you scroll over to the left, you can also view the navigation bar there. This takes you to setup, of course, and if you want to see the workings, you can also go to that with that link. So that's if you want to check the detailed schedules out, there's a loan reason analysis, which if I click, unhides a little hidden section at the bottom. And then if I click the second button as well, it hides it again. So I toggle the view between viewing what is called a loan reason analysis and the normal dashboard itself. So over here, you'll see for every single individual loan, which you have summarized here as well, you will see the loan split according to various reasons that you made the loan. And that is, of course, an optional recording field. You can navigate through each individual loan. So, for example, the first loan, and you'll see the first one highlighted. And it has, so you can see a PPE, plant property equipment. You can see a yellow one, it's purchased some intangible assets. And to the right there's an adapting chart, which one can use, for example, perhaps for pitch deck. So You can drill each and every single loan and revisit the reasons that you borrowed. For example, over here you just borrowed PPE and the funds came in was 300,000. So in order to complete this, there's a loans reason input button which you push over here, which is an optional input section under the set loan setup. And you can toggle the view of that, of course. And over here, I'll give you the 6 different reasons, which you can customize as you like. PPE being a fixed asset, plant, property, equipment. Intangibles, another fixed asset example. That'd be like trade licenses or software or anything that you pay one off for. Receivables and stock would be working capital type of things. So if your operation expands, you want to keep stock on hand to sell and you may extend credit to your customers, things like that. And you'll need money to fund all of that. Investments, of course, and perhaps short term losses, ST losses. As you populate that, a good way as you capturing the loans, as you write your loan down, would be to toggle over to your reasons, perhaps for making that loan, and to fill those in as you make them. As you make the 1.5, what are we going to use this money for? So that's a useful navigation item within the dashboard, which, as I say, which as I've highlighted, is an optional input variance, and just finishes your dashboard or board off very nicely. So that is it for the dashboard. A lot of analysis in here, and as you can see, drill throughs to the detailed schedule, and helps you to just view the pockets of credit that you have, how your credit's developing, and also have an overview of your overall plan for all of your loans. This will help you to plan how you scale your business and hopefully help you with the decisions in your business, and to look at partnering with many institutions to grow your business. Healthy borrowing will create good financial leverage, which is in the end going to create a accelerating growth for you as a startup. So I hope this tool is going to be very useful for you, and will integrate nicely into all your pitch decks and your forward-looking analysis, and certainly help you in your times of budgeting. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. See you in the next video.